All right, welcome into the half, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and a little patience with us here as yeah, we're having one of those days, Mr. Eric Campbell. You
Yeah,
know,
it has been one of those days. If you ever had one of those days where just about everything goes a little wrong, not
yeah, yeah,
terribly, but just a little
yeah.
bit, that's today. We're playing
Just
catch up a lot today.
just challenging us to see what we're going to do. We didn't have the show listed, so we missed that. And then I did list it for 11:35 p.m. tonight, and then
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
so but
These
we're
things
good.
happen, but hey, we're here and we
Yeah.
got a few people showing up, so I'm happy to guys have you guys in here because we got certainly some stuff to talk about both from the two other guys side where we're going to cap a little of that. We'll talk about our wins and things we're working on and we'll take Q&A as usual. So happy to have you guys in for another episode of the half.
Yeah, definitely. And then just for those of you that are new to the half here, my name's Erich Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. And the very fine gentleman next to me here is Mr. Erich Campbell, and you can find him at erichcampbell.com. That's
This is great.
ERICH.com. Campbell, Eric Campbell. Sorry.
You'll find me. It's easy.
Yeah.
Google is my friend on that one.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. 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 Your parents paying for that extra H really makes you easier to find. So,
Yeah, having that misspelled forever and having to change that on documents,
yeah. Yeah.
fully worth it being Googleable. I gotta admit.
Yeah, I can never use the voice talk to say, "Hey, Eric," because then I get, and then if I just send it, I have to go
Yep.
in and change it. So,
Poor
but
thing.
I've said it enough now that I actually don't have to change it any longer. Google has figured it out on my phone. So
And now all the Erics get to suffer with my age.
that's right.
All the other Erics now
Yeah, I don't.
suffer.
You're my only Eric. So it's all
Aw.
good. Oh,
And you're
okay,
my
that got
only
weird.
Aaron. I could have said
That's right.
Aaron. I'm sure you've heard that one
Yeah,
enough.
I've heard that one a lot. So good. All right.
All
Well,
right,
thank you
folks.
guys for joining us this morning. Good afternoon to Chuck Peterson and
Yes.
Ramona says morning all. You'd think it was Monday. Okay, half a Monday.
Feels like
And
a Monday.
Kingsbury Crafts. Hey, hey, hey. So
Nice to have you on.
yeah,
All
definitely.
right, so let's talk about the show. Two other guys, a great show today. We had, like I said, some technical difficulties again today. At the same time, we managed to get some great folks on. First thing, if you guys haven't seen the news segments, Cassie came on from the Apparelist today and had a great news segment, some great
Yeah.
pieces. I'm not going to recover all the stuff she did, but incredible stuff. Always sharing us really great news. So go check out the episode. The news segments are always fantastic. And
Yeah.
once again, today, some interesting stuff about, I guess I will cover some of it, microplastics and what Samsung and Patagonia are doing to try and help that with the laundry. We have that going on. We had, and honestly, the other stuff that she shared that struck with me wasn't anything that was supposed to be in their regular headlines. It was that she shared this wonderful story of some parents with their autistic child who had made a T-shirt campaign for her to work, and she's really doing great work at that. So that was another one I really loved, is
Yeah.
seeing that happened and that we're making places for people to fulfill some needs and get out there and do some good in the world for themselves. And I think that's fantastic. So it was really cool to see that too. Funny enough, I know all the news stories I should remember are there, but I just loved that
Yeah.
decorated apparel can be part of giving people a place to be and express themselves. I love that.
Yeah, I do too, and so love that Cassie shared that story as well. Like you said, other great news segments. We are so blessed and thankful to have the good folks at Apparelist, the graphics
Yeah,
pro. Matt was on last week. Adrian from Screen Printing Magazine just come and enhance the show because they're already doing good work. So we want to highlight them. We want to share what they're doing, and they show up and just make it incredible. We didn't have a whole lot of expectations when we kind of set that up, Eric. As far as
yeah,
like they're like, well, what do you want from us? And we're like, I don't know. What do you want to bring?
right.
And so we didn't have a whole lot of expectations, and then they showed up and like delivered in a great way. Just all of them making their little segment their own in their own way, but really
Just awesome
uh,
stuff.
nailing it. So, and just for those of you that are not a two regular guys, regular listener or whatnot, we do clip out the industry news stuff, and we put it as its own playlist over on the Two Regular Guys YouTube channel. So if you did ever, and so
Nice.
if you just want to go get that industry news, we've clipped all those, and they're its own playlist over there. So you go back on that. So all right. So yeah, let's talk about the rest of it though. Good
Yes,
evening
please.
to Heather. Thanks for tuning in, and Letty. Great to have you here. Finally, a few minutes freed up to listen. So we appreciate you tuning in.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Eric, DTF man. What's your Is it a game changer?
Is it a game changer? So direct to film transfers, if you guys don't know, that was just the talk of the show. Direct to film transfers, essentially, if you've been in the screen print industry for any period of time, you kind of know this technology. It's not that that game changing in
Yeah.
that we've had transfers, and the
Yeah.
concept of using adhesive powders on printed transfers for has been around forever. However, this is combining kind of the best of the digital output of DTG with that
Mhm.
transfer technology to be able to allow people to decorate everywhere and on
Yeah.
just about any kind of surface on quite a few different surfaces.
Yeah.
And so what I'll say is this, I'm seeing a rise of people getting into heat press again. Not that it was ever going away, but I saw kind of this confluence at the show where we had, um, direct to film transfers everywhere. Number one, whether people were getting into printing them or just wanting to use them. But the thing is, when we add that to heat press technology getting better, especially in the hat space, you can't say enough in my book about the IQ 360 from stalls. It really did change the lower heated platen, the bucks they have to kind of keep it from doing creases. It is making a difference in how easy it is to get both DTF surely transfers, but also things like embroidered patches that can be kind of difficult to do are easier to do, and all of
Yeah.
the dimensional stuff. So if you guys have seen all the stuff coming out of stalls, also World Emblem, which they kind of source from. If you guys don't know that, the kind of molded transfers, they have
Mm.
different names depending on who's making these, but they have molded or fallout transfers. They have all manner of dimensional material transfers. Now you've probably seen these things that are faceted and shiny are
Yeah.
some of the ones that they've done. Also some different kind of texture transfers, and they use those on different substrates. But I'm seeing like this confluence of the popularity of the hat patch, the popularity of these transfers that are dimensional, and DTF with new technologies to mean that we're pressing hats like crazy, we're pressing different accessories like crazy, and everyone has the ability to decorate just about everything.
Yeah.
I know we've seen something similar with stuff like white toner, like other sorts of transfer technologies, but it seems like direct to film has taken off in a way that none of those have. And
Yeah.
whether that's just the popularity of it or people understanding it better or the marketing being better, I don't know. We can discuss that. As far as the technology, it seems like though that DTF is being a little more ubiquitous than
Yeah.
the other transfer technologies I've seen out there.
Yeah.
So interesting. It's interesting
Yeah.
stuff. I'm also seeing people using it for a lot of like print on demand. So we're seeing that too. It's like small run, print on demand, all of these new technologies come together with all of these styles that were kind of popular at the time too. People who are having issues attaching patches to hats, the one that I deal with all the time in the embroidery world.
Yeah.
Well, now that we can have a decent heat press that is likely to adhere things securely, uh,
Yeah.
people are much more willing to do patch hats and just use them that way. I mean, gold standard is always going to be post bed sewing and sewing them on manually,
Mhm.
but people are doing a lot more with texture and with all these applied materials and DTF. I mean, DTF becomes kind of like this universal unifying thing that we can do to get true digital process color and full color on just about anything pretty simply for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
love
think
that.
that's what
Yeah.
it does. It's kind of an
Good pick.
equalizer to me. Now, what I want to
Equalizer.
see coming from this, and I'm actually going to keep campaigning on this a little bit myself, is more multimedia,
Mm.
because that's something that I'm kind of in. And also, the great thing is, working in the software world as I do now, I know that there's a lot of technologies that have been out there that aren't being used for adding, say, print to embroidery. That now that DTF is becoming so ubiquitous and you can order them from folks like Todd, or you can go get printers off the shelf, and it's a
Yeah.
little easier to do this application than other stuff that we've done. I would love to see the technology and the tools that were already out there for adding prints to like embroidery being utilized with DTF as people are getting into it as heat presses. That's the other thing too. Heat presses are more ubiquitous. If you think about even in the craft world, you can go
Yeah.
and get a heat press that is functional, maybe not the best heat press on earth, but at a craft store, heat presses that we would at least recognize as being heat
A heat
presses
press. Yeah.
instead of it's not a glorified iron. Some of these things, and people are also buying heat presses. Maybe they're not the great heat presses, but they know what
But
a
yeah.
clamshell or a swingway heat press is, even outside of the world of decorating,
Yeah.
meaning that there's more people who are looking to upgrade. I think
Yeah.
we always make that joke. Terry always jokes about, if you guys don't know about this, it's called the UDO,
The
which
you
was
do.
a
Yeah.
screen printing kit. It was like a little, it was almost like a plastic injection molded
Yeah.
thing that burned the screens and set yourself up, and you could screen
And you
print with
get it
it.
from like an infomercial type,
Totally.
yeah, it was that kind of deal. Yeah, go ahead.
Or maybe the more legit version, if you guys have seen, is the GoCo Pro. GoCo Pro has been around for a long time too. Same kind of a thing where it's a kit it's kind of a kit screen printing thing.
Yeah.
He always said, "Oh, I love those things because it makes more real screen printers as they get sick of dealing with that thing and they want to upgrade
Yeah.
to something real." I feel kind of the same about the Cricut level heat press
Yeah.
and stuff. I'm like, okay, Cricut heat press, you can get mad at it or say you're leaning on a press, it's not real, the pressure's not whatever. It still does the job. And when people then look to upgrade, they run to something more like what we're used to. And
Yeah.
as we see people like Stalls, like all of them. I mean, hey, we talk about Stalls a lot because they're good friends of ours and we were in the booth a lot. But if you look at what's going on in just about all the suppliers that we know and love, our vendors,
Yeah.
they have a craft section. They have a
Yeah.
craft focused brand as part of what they do.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think we're seeing a unifying, and direct to film is right on that channel.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's circle
Yeah,
back to what you talked about earlier too, because Heather jumped in here and said yes, multimedia, and then she
yeah,
says I just added rhinestones to my embroidery. People love it, big
yeah. I
hit,
love it.
right? And just real quick from Ramona, this is aside, but she said I almost did the SP kit, but so, so yeah, I want your take on that. That's it's really
Yeah.
interesting, Eric. This whole like tell me what multimedia could be. Like if you were dreaming, if you're imagining,
Oh,
how do you use DTF in a multimedia environment?
well, I mean, honestly, multimedia can be done fairly easily because I've done like one of my favorite ones that was easy was a glitter flake transfer. Have you
Okay.
ever seen glitter flake
Yeah.
material, which is just straight up kind of it's a polyester glitter flake heat transfer material?
Yeah.
However, you can sublimate on it. And so I would sublimate full color images on white glitter flake. Then
Nice.
I would do a process called rip away applique, which is where you put a placement line down on your design or for the design on whatever garment it is. You place your entire sheet uncut, so you don't have to cut the sheet. You take it off of your carrier, place
Yeah.
the entire sheet down on the garment, sew down your edges of the design, applique style edges, satin style edges, tear off the excess around the outside edges, and then press it for a permanent press. You can do an entire applique with an all over print with a lot of slop, and you don't have to do any pre cutting.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly easy. So it makes the barrier to entry really easy. And I think with as we do DTF now, the other thing is people are ganging up big sheets of DTF. We have software like this software that I work with. I'm going to go to share a screen just to show you a random thing that I was playing with, just to kind
Wow.
of show this stuff. I'm going to share a
Yeah.
screen because I
Okay.
can't since I've got the ability to do it. I'm going to try and do it.
Yeah.
We'll give it a go. So I'm going to share a screen, pull this up. We have tools like this where this is an existing tool that's built into this isn't in Brilliance, but the other software have these multimedia tools. What I want to show you is if I select this piece, if I go in here, I essentially have a print. And you can see that I've taken a real tie-dyed print. If I zoom in on this thing, it's actually a print of a garment. It's a print of a tie-dyed garment. But I have this print, and the tools already exist in the software to automatically generate this cut and bleed. It will kick out
Ah,
this bleed from the design. And in fact, if I go in here and play with this thing, if I play with the piece that I have where I've got this applique in here, I can actually grab this image, play around with it, size it, scale it, rotate it, and then when I'm done though, I can kick out this
yeah.
piece and then gang it up on a sheet like I would for any other DTF print. And I've already got it set up. I can also do some things for alignment and stuff like that. But that's the thing. These tools are in the software right now because of an earlier kind of version of this where people were doing the old school inkjet style transfers, the ones that you were
Yeah.
talking about, the bad old days of doing like
Yeah.
inkjet style transfers. Those tools exist already. And now with the wide availability of either ordering DTF or people who are bringing DTF into their shops, I'm like, sitting on software you might already have are tools like this that are just
Yeah.
waiting to be used. And also, if we start saying, hey, these are things we can use, we can bring those up for people. Plus,
Yeah.
what I love is people are now doing things like I used to love doing patches that had full sublimation backs, but just had text or something embroidered in the patch with on top of the sublimation,
Ah.
or full sublimation or full print, and then just do the border so that I've got a nice embroidered style border or faux marrow style border on a patch that has full color graphics. Or some of the things that people talk about all the time, doing sunsets with why are they buying into the color reel for dyeing thread.
Yeah.
If we were just doing a sunset where there's a little bit of slop on the gradient, we could print a big sunset behind an entire image, then do all of the embroidery detail on top and leave that sky open. And so we print all the color in and we have that full color print, but we just lay it in there, and we don't even have to be that careful about our placement, because we just have to make sure within the edges of the border, especially if we're doing something that's patch style or that has big satin borders. So
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah,
Plus,
for
and I
sure.
actually like this too. Um, we've
Yeah,
got
Barb
from
said.
Barb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Have you seen where you take embroidery file and then print it on DTF? Yes. Not only have I seen it, I worked with Jay Bassell and made one for him that they printed in the booth. So
Nice.
yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing you may have in your existing software. In the software I just showed you, you can go and say, okay, output an embroidered preview, and you end up with a transparent PNG that looks like embroidery. And let's say in fact, I talked about this in the booth at Equipment Zone. Funny enough, I didn't mean to. I'm sitting there in the Equipment Zone booth and they're pressing hats. And I'm talking with Jay Bassell and I'm like, hey, have you ever had one of those hats, like a bicycle hat or a painter's hat, that you would never dare to put something as heavy as full embroidery on? You could take your existing embroidery file, send that preview, that digital preview, or that decoration embroidery file, the high resolution fake 3D preview, the faux 3D preview,
Yeah,
send that off to DTF at the same size as the rest of the hats you're already embroidering, and on anything too light to run on, print that instead
as a
um,
DTF.
as a DTF.
Huh.
So there's the expansion that you could do with this is massive.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
love it.
massive. There's no reason not to look at the possibilities as far as adding stuff to embroidery. I've done rhinestone transfers on embroidery. I've done all manner of transfer materials and sublimation, and I think it just adds something that it's a wow factor. It's novelty, and what I always
Yeah,
tell people is, if you've got something that someone wants to share with someone else, if they go, wow, that's cool, if they see the novelty, if there's delight, if they smile about it, uh, believe me, that's something they're going to share. That's something that's going to provide
yeah,
social proof, and they're going to sell it for you.
yeah,
And I find that multimedia is one of those things. Like, people
yeah,
sublimate on top of like white poly embroidery, 3D
yeah,
3D embroidery with sublimation on top. It's not that hard of a process, but it looks like it. It
yeah,
looks impossible,
yeah.
and I think that's what
Interesting.
a lot of these things are.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, real quick, I'm going to
Sure,
just
sure.
change gears real quick. So,
Let's
for
go
those
for
of you
it.
that are tuned in, once you start thinking about what your wins are, because we do want to get
Yes,
through
we're going to
that
talk
here
about that for
today.
sure. For
So,
sure.
while you're thinking about that, though, I've got another. Okay. So, I've got
Sure.
obviously the real beginner's mindset with this. I still have just that limited 15 minutes of embroidery experience, right?
Sure,
That's
sure.
the joke. But, okay. What about something like this? Like, came to my brain is we talk about the one thing I love about embroidery for sure, personally,
Yeah.
is the depth of it, right? That you
Yeah,
do
the
have that
texture. Sure.
dimensionality and stuff like that, right? So, and like you said, you could do something where you put down a white, kind of background, so to speak, and then sublimate over the top of that. What
Yeah.
about doing something like that, but then putting a DTF transfer over the top of it? Because with sublimation, it's just going to dye those threads, and so you still
Mhm.
have that real thread look. I wonder
Yeah.
what the DTF over the top of a embroidered base would look like. It kind of smooths it out a little bit. I wonder what the
I don't
washability would
know.
be like. That,
I think it'd be fun to try it just for the heck of it, because the other
yeah,
thing is there's a whole concept of people doing kind of distress stuff on purpose. I think it would be interesting. The way that, or at least what struck to me immediately,
yeah,
is the concept of a fake cover up. Like, intentionally making it look like you're printing over something else that you didn't want somebody to see, but it's part of the in joke. I think that would be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, you
That
could
would be
like have a
fun.
have a logo with like a different thing in the background, like a secret code behind
Or
it,
just
so to
like literally
speak,
have a
right?
logo, or do a semi corporate style logo and then print on top of it on purpose. So that
Yeah.
like you're covering up the message on purpose, but that's the joke. That's the comment. I
Interesting.
mean, I
That's
can
really
see
cool.
that. I could totally see that being a thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never tried that. I've never tried a full print. I don't know if those are so thick that they wouldn't do well on that texture. But I certainly have seen, like I said, the sublimation's cool because it dyes the thread. That's interesting in and of itself because it allows for colorations that you can't
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I think, and like I said,
Huh.
multimedia is one of those places where I think we can play, and it adds such a higher value like proposition. The perception of a customer of it just adding heat press, like rhinestones, look, they assume they're single fix. They assume that you're
Yeah.
placing rhinestones, but you can very carefully make setups where we place our embroidery and we have areas left out for rhinestones that register, and you can use
A
a
transfer.
regular set. You can use a set transfer rhinestones. I've done it many times where
That's
we'll
cool.
have elements or one letter out of a set of text. So we got text, but the capital letter at the top of the text is in rhinestones. And we set that up where it looks like a single fix. Or you can do a scatter. I've done this before on purpose where we just have a scatter of rhinestones on a transfer that looks more like it's individually placed, but with with a little art ahead of time. We've decided on where these little individual stones are going to be, and they're on a carrier sheet. So
Interesting.
I think that's, and rhinestones do stick to embroidery. By the way, you can put one directly on embroidery, and they do hold. In my
Nice.
experience, I've had no
Yeah.
problem with that. If your settings are right and you're good, they'll
Yeah. You
hold
got,
on to existing embroidery.
huh, I
Um,
love that.
yeah,
Interesting.
it's cool stuff.
So cool.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Barb says, DTF puff would be cool. Right.
I would
And
love to
it,
see it. I would love to
yeah.
see it. And
Yeah.
I've seen people do, actually, I saw really cool pieces where they had sublimated on twill, and then they did that on top of puff so that the patch stuck up like 3 mils off the
Wow.
surface. But it was a sublimated twill patch on top of puff that had a
Yeah.
satin or foam arrow style
Yeah.
border. So there's this is going on. I've seen this
Yeah.
before, but
Just
it's just like, as more
your
people have the heat
imagination is the
presses,
limitation. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
As more people have the equipment and as it's ubiquitous to get the transfers, I would love to see people trying more of these combinations, and think like a retail decorator, think like a fashion decorator, and see where you could bring that into your, business to business or team sports space. Because when you do the cool thing, you'd be surprised how much it sparks people to,
Yeah.
want to get involved.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not for
And
everybody. You got to price it right,
sure.
but
Sure.
still, it's
Yeah.
worthwhile to try some of this stuff.
But in a lot of these things, yes, there's a little bit extra to it, and like you said, you got to price it right. But you
Yeah.
start changing your perceived value, and that change of perceived value could, in a lot of ways, be a lot greater than the change in the additional cost and time to create, right? And so
Oh yeah. I mean,
you're
as I
changing your
watch
profit margins really quickly.
uh, as I watch people price really stock looking patch hats at $40 and they're
Yeah.
making it all day.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's going to happen for you. It has to be something where there's some other desire for people to have it.
Yeah.
But I'm watching people use standard patch hats, heat press embroidered patches on standard truckers, pricing them up in that $40 range
Yeah.
pretty frequently. Multimedia can make a difference, and
Yeah.
standing out means something. Um, Thinking about that is worthwhile, even if it's not for every
Yeah.
client. You never know.
Yeah.
Also, you never know what the client would order if you gave them the option.
Yeah.
They
For
don't
sure.
even know it's a possibility.
Yeah.
So
For
some of these
sure.
possibilities we got to bring to our clients.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do it.
Tell them what they
Yeah,
want,
be
right?
the
And
expert.
yeah, cool. I love it. All right. Well,
Wins, man.
wins for the week, man. Thank you for all that, Eric. Another
Too
master
much.
class
Too much.
in 15 minutes there on all things multimedia, DTF, and embroidery all mixed together. So thank you, Eric. I,
Went too hard at it. Sorry, sorry
no, I
about the
love
extra
it.
time, but yeah,
That's
that's something
perfect.
that I'm into right
That's
now.
perfect. I love that. All right. So those of you that tuned in, what are your wins? What's your, since last Friday? What are your wins? Ramona shared my win. I'm back at the Y doing water aerobics. Good job. Way to take
Good
care of your
job.
health. And
Go for it.
Kylene and her friend Tanya Deuscher just did a thankful Thursday last Thursday about self care, right? And that's part of
Nice.
it, right? It's fitness and balance and just self-care is not selfish. It's you can't give from an empty cup. I think is one of the things that Kylene had said. So I love that.
Yeah.
Good job,
Yeah.
Ramona. Eric, what about you? Anything that stands out?
I'm gonna call you out first. I've been
Okay.
talking this whole time. I want it because I have a win that I think I'm proud of on your behalf because you've launched something new that I
Yes.
love. I want to hear
Yes.
your wins at first, man.
Yes. Well,
Put you on the spot.
you knew my win, so thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
Do it.
I talked about it on the two regular guys, but it's called the uh, calling it Masters of Success Plus, but it's mosmasterminds.com. And it's been something that I've been talking about, thinking about, because I've got this big goal. I want to empower 10,000 people through the power of masterminding by the end of 2024. And I can't, obviously there's not enough time in my day for me to mastermind with 10,000 people. So how do I make this happen? And what I was able to do was kind of put together this program where I partner with people that have communities, that have spaces, and let them be the expert. Oh, thank you, Eric. And take what I've been able to learn from, as you see there on that picture, that's me with Jack Canfield running his mastermind group. Right. And so I've been able to take that knowledge and I can pass that along to people so they can host their own masterminds, and yet still have a true mastermind. Because that's been the other thing that's been a bother to me, is I've seen too many situations where people go out there and they say, hey, join my mastermind, and it really is just a social hour or training or something like that. And while that's great, the reality is it's not really getting people where they need to go, where they want to go. And a true mastermind is going to give you the ability to get where you want to go. So Yes, I got that out. It's out into the public. I've started talking. In fact, I'm going to have a couple conversations at APA with some folks, and we're going to
Nice.
make this happen.
Nice.
I think Todd Downing is going to be putting a group together. So anybody that wants to put a group together, I'm going to use my superpower to make it happen and give you all the tools that you need, and then go from there. So thank you, Eric, for allowing me to share that win. What about you, sir?
Big deal, man.
Yeah,
You
thank
know
you.
what's funny? I have a little win that I thought was good.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I get super busy, I don't always get to do the embroidery side of what I do as much as I want to. Like I
yeah,
make assets, but I don't get to actually stitch stuff. And
yeah.
so I did a project for Embrilliance this week that I got to stitch out. And so I was just
Nice.
happy that I got to do that. I know it sounds goofy. I'm actually going to
Got to
share
get your
that
hands
too.
on the thread every once in a while, right?
Just well, and I usually do most days, but there's been a stretch of days where that just wasn't going to happen for me.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to be able to get embroidery going for a while, and it was a very simple project. But I'm gonna share it because why not?
I
I'm
love it,
just,
man.
I guess I'm sharing screens today. I don't know why.
Yeah, I
I'm
like
feeling it.
that. Yeah,
So I'm gonna go
good.
ahead and share this tab with you so you can see what I'm talking about. This is the little project I did. It's just it's a patch design. You guys know I like
Ah,
people doing patches.
oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
but the thing that's fun about it is because I get to do this on the software side, it's interactive. Not only can you change the actual thing, because I'll show you, this is the real piece that I
Okay.
did. So
Oh, nice.
this is the actual piece. So this is over at embrilliance.com if you want it. So if you're an embroiderer who wants to do this, you can go make this thing right now if you want to. You can go get it and make it for yourself.
Cool.
The interesting thing about this is because we have the interactive version of our patch software, we actually made this with even the free software that we have, the express mode. You can go in and customize it yourself, which means you can customize the message. So you got to keep it under like 8 characters. Trust me, it's hard on the conversation heart motif to make that work. A lot of
Yeah.
characters are not going to work. However, the other thing you can do is that we actually have the ability to allow you to change what kind of material you use. So you could do this with cut material. You could do this with all
Oh,
stitches. It's a full stitch patch, which is what you're seeing here. This is made entirely with thread on. It's actually on Madeira's polyolefin. There's a plastic style badge film, 2 layers of that, and you can stitch all thread and make a piece that will hold up by itself. So if you don't want to match colors or whatever, but you have a nice thread selection, you can do it that way. That's how it was done. But like I said, the fun part of it is you can go in and both customize the message. And if you go in further to the settings, you can say, I want to actually use cut material. I want to use classic poly twill, or I want to export this cut file and use it on my cutter and then make my own pieces. So that is a free design if you want to go pick it up. But I was just happy because it was cool to get on the machines and just, as
that's
per the
awesome.
usual, make a cool patch, has the cool foam arrowed edge on it. And as much as I've seen a bunch of people do these kind of patches, I haven't seen one out there just floating around that had, the kind of 3D setup. And it actually
Hmm.
works really well with, if you go by, some people get these thread collections that have like quartets of different thread colors. I saw some people who were using those for stuff, and I thought, oh, what's a great way to use that where you have 4 colors in the same range?
Yeah,
Well, conversation hearts, because then you could use the yellows, you could use the purples, and make your own kind. So I was like, hey,
that's
this is
super
just a
cool.
fun little project. I like making patches. Plus, if you're like me, yes, I have nice messages on this. I see lots of these salty conversation hearts. You want to make one that has something salty on it. This is your chance to put something that nobody else wants on a conversation heart on your own patch. So
Oh,
I fully recommend going
I
punt with
just thought
this.
of one. Yeah,
Yeah, please put something off on
we
it and share it to me privately because I don't care. But I
Facebook
like it when
user.
people do
Just
that.
think about that.
Yeah,
Facebook user.
Facebook user. Facebook users. Yeah, trust me, there are plenty of those messages out there. Like if you ever want to make one of those snarky conversation hearts, uh, go get this now because you can just go type it in
Yeah,
yourself, whatever you
there
want.
you go.
But
Oh
yeah,
man,
that was a
very
goofy
cool.
win, but a fun win. It
Very
was
very
nice to
cool.
do a fun embroidery project, even if it was super simple. I get myself hung up that every piece of my stuff has to be super complex and hard and shaded and whatever. And I just really I enjoyed making something fun and simple that people could play with.
I love
So
that. Good job. Good job.
yeah, fun win.
Uh, Frank, no problem being late. You said you're going to
Hey,
catch the replay,
show
and
up when you
then
wanna. Make some snarky conversation hearts and share them with me.
yeah, and then OT. Um, hmm,
Okay.
to go with that one. I have to-
We go to overtime? Not yet. Not
no,
yet. We're
yeah,
not
that's the other
overtime.
thing. Not
We
over
started
time.
late, so we're not
We did
overtime.
start late.
Almost.
Yeah, we're we're
Almost.
we're there. So, all right. Well, because we started late, because we went long, I think we just need to cut it off. Right? We're right at time. So,
Hey, I mean,
any last thoughts that you wanted to share, Eric?
I'll just say this. I'm grateful for all you folks. I'm grateful for Aaron being here, and I'm glad we got to do the half, even if it was a trying day.
Yeah, it was a trying day. So, thanks everybody. Have a great Friday, and we'll talk to you soon.